Hello, our project's on foreign currency banking. I'm Kyle. I'm with Robertson, Joseph, and Endrit, and we're going to do our demo and present what we have. So the application scenario and problem statement, our project's on a banking system. It specializes in transferring between multiple currencies. In this case, it's United States and Canadian currency. It could be expanded to different currencies. This is ideal for someone that lives on the border of Canada and the United States, or someone that travels frequently between the two countries. I will now turn it over to Joey, who will discuss the functional requirements.
Hi, my name is Joey Pio, and I will be talking about the functional requirements for our banking app. A user is able to create an account where they're issued a bank account, a number, and a debit card number. They're able to log into the account where, if they are an existing user and they input the correct credentials, they will be able to have access into the account. Otherwise, they will not have access. They're able to update the account where they can deposit money from their account. They can withdraw money from their account, convert currencies where they can transfer money from their USD account into their Canadian account, or the other way, they can transfer money from their Canadian account to their USD account. And they can also transfer money from their account to another user's account if that user is existing. If not, the transfer will not go through and the user will keep his money. They are able to read account information where they're able to view their account balances, their bank account number, and their debit card number. And lastly, they're able to delete the account where it will delete all accounts, all information from that account permanently, and it will not be seen into the database, protecting that account, and no one will have access to it. And I will turn it over to Robertson.
Hi, I'm Robertson, and I'm going to talk about the ER diagram. So the account that Joy was just talking about is broken up into a lot of different sections. So let's start off with the auth user table. Auth user is the table from Django that we have taken and modified a little bit, adding in an email column, and we're using it to store personal information about a user. Now, the auth user has a one-to-many relationship with our other table called monetary info, and it's a weak relationship. So although auth user is a foreign key in monetary info, that foreign key is not part of monetary info's primary key. And it's a mandatory non-optional relationship. So an auth user record must have a linked monetary info record. And auth user, that information gets created at account creation. It's used for login on our details page that is displayed, and it's deleted when you delete an account. Monetary info holds all of a user's monetary information. A user can have multiple sets of monetary information. It holds things like bank account number and your balances, whether it's USD or Canadian. And that has a one-to-many relationship with debit cards, which in our database, it's possible to have multiple debit cards, and it's a mandatory relationship. So a monetary info record must be associated with a debit card. And then there's also conversion rate, which is a table that holds constants, and that has a one-to-many relationship with monetary info, meaning that there's only one set of these constants, but then all the records in monetary info make use of those constants. And both of those are also weak relationships. Now we're going to hand it over to Endrit.
Hey, what's up? It's Endrit, and I'll be talking about the tools, frameworks, and technology we had to use to make this web application. And for the front end, we had to use HTML, CSS, and a tiny bit of JavaScript. For the back end, we had to obviously use Python since it was tied to Django. Our database server used MySQL, and we accessed all the data through MySQL Workbench. We hosted the web application through Django, and we share all our code through GitHub.
Okay, so now we're moving to the demo side of things here. This is our login page. So obviously right now we don't have an account, so we're going to click the create account button at the bottom. It asked us to enter your username, email, and then password, then verify you have the right password. We're going to do that right now. Obviously, it checks to make sure the passwords are matching and the email has an address like at something.com. This is the home page. We're logged in now. We're going to log out just to show you that it works. This takes us back to our login page. We're going to log in with our username and password. This is once again the home page. We're going to look at the details page, where that shows you details about the account, bank account, debit card, CVV of the debit card, and the expiration date of the card. All these pages have home buttons. We're going to click the home button here. Takes us back to the home page. We're going to show you deposit. You can see the balances are 0. It shows the current balance. We're going to deposit American dollars, whatever number. Confirm it, and we'll do Canadian as well. And then as you can see, they updated accordingly on the home page. Now we're going to try withdrawing it. Some of the funds, it once again shows the updated balances. I'm going to click confirm. Once again, we withdraw on the money, and those are updated balances. We're going to do transfer now. Transfer lets you transfer a certain amount of money to another existing account. So obviously here you would type the account number of another user on file, which would, whatever, we'll go with that when that's saved. It prompts you if you want to do it, you can hit OK, and it'll send out the money. And then obviously on the other account, it would update the balance accordingly. We're going to look at the conversion page now. And the conversion page lets you convert between US currency to Canadian currency. So we're going to convert US to Canadian right now. And then it did it. Other way works as well. And then we're going to show that right now. And then there's your updated balance. And then I think we're all set. So when we're done, we're going to delete the account. It'll prompt you top there, and then you'll delete. One thing that I forgot to note that is that when you're on the home page and you're logged in, it won't let you log in there. When you're on the home page and you're logged in, it won't let you go to the sign up page or the create account page, and we're going to demonstrate that right now. So yeah, see, it just reloads the home page, and that's, as far as the demo goes, that's how it looks on the front end. I'm going to turn it over to Joey now to explain some of those things.
My name is Joey, and I'm showing you the HTML side. On the front end, we chose to use buttons and have a dark mode theme, which we stayed consistent in both layout and in the color scheme for all the pages of our site, from deposit, withdraw, and all the other pages. There we go. Yeah. Yep. And now going to the HTML code, I would like to talk about in homepage. The most important features are that we use buttons that are easy to change because we have a CSS all grouped up on the top of the page. So whenever we'd like to customize it, it was a lot easier since it's organized well. We're also able to use the read functionality by taking in a username, USD, and Canadian account balance and portraying it on the home page of the screen for the user to see. We also have a JavaScript functionality on the bottom, and when deleting an account, the user will get a notification alert that will actually be a confirmation if they would like to proceed with deleting the account or not. Now, for this, I would like to go to the sign up page where we use forms to take in a CRF token, as well as username, email, a password, and checking password confirmation. And this will all be sent into the backend as a form, and the same is done for deposit, withdraw, transfer, and conversion. They also use forms. So most of our pages are all sending the information as a form format. And that is everything for HTML side.
Hi, Professor. My name's Endrit, and I'm going to show you the backend portion, mainly the account sign up, login, and delete functions. So let's go straight into the code. So for the create portion of our web application, we have the sign up function, which pretty much starts off with a bunch of random variables just to help us out. And it checks if the user's authenticated. So if you're already a user that's logged in, then it just redirects you back to the home page. You don't need to be on this page. And then else, it just checks if the form's a post method instead of a get method. and it creates a special form that we made, which is pretty much just we just put in an email field. And then if the form is valid, it makes monetary info object and it saves that. And then it also makes a debit card object and saves that. And then once it does that, it authenticates if the user is legit or not. And then it just logs them straight in and then redirects them to the home page. And for our login portion, we have the same idea, but instead of a create or user register form, we have a login form over here. Right down here, which just takes a username and password. And if the user's already authenticated, you obviously, just like before, you do not need to be on this login page, so it just redirects you straight to the home page. And then, but if the form is valid and you don't need to be redirected, it checks for all the data, makes sure you are a legitimate person or user rather, and then checks if the user is active and it's not none, which should already be checked back here. And then it redirects them. It logs them in and then redirects them to the home page. Else it just puts you right back to the user login. And yeah. And now for our delete portion, we have the deactivate function, which pretty much just takes in the current user, makes a user object, and then deletes that user. And then once it deletes that user, everything else gets cascaded. So you lose your monetary info, your debit card info, and yeah. And then after all that, it redirects you right back to the user login, which is right over here.
Hey Professor, I'm Robertson, Brinker, and I'm going to be talking about some of our read and update backend functionality. So we're going to start off talking about our details page in the Python views file. And this is really just a bunch of fetching data from the database and then displaying it through a context block. First off, we start by setting our current user through request.user, and then we fetch a whole bunch of information from our monetary info table and our debit cards table, and we set those to variables, and we access that information through the name of the table, which is going through our models Python file, and then it's the name of the table.objects.get, and we access that information based off of our current user, and then we display that through the context block. Okay, so let's switch to the transfer page, which is, or it's still in views.python. As an example of the backend, we're going to look at our transfer page. Transfer in our views.python file transfers money between two users. So this is all about our update and read functionality requirement. We start off setting some variables. So current user is equal to request.user allows us to access the auth user row of whoever is logged in. OBJ equals the record in monetary info associated with the currently logged in auth user based on their ID. Looking at the big if statement below, queuing off of the form in the transfer.html page being method equals post, we call to our forms.python page to set a variable for our transfer form. Going back to the transfer method in Python, after checking that the form is valid, the first thing we do is fetch the bank account number and set that equal to dest user. Dest user is the bank account number of the user the current user wants to transfer money to. After checking that the bank account number input is valid, we create two user objects, user one being the person giving the money, user two being the person getting the money in the transfer. These two user variables are records in monetary info. We then fetch the amounts from the HTML page using the cleaned data.get methods. And then finally, we do some arithmetic on the monetary info table in the database, adding and subtracting the appropriate amount from each user. All this is done through the user objects, which are basically records in our monetary info table. Saving the records is very important, and the context block below is for displaying information from the database through the HTML onto the front end of the app. And that's it.